What's up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22, and we are live for the first time on Betting the NFL. Um, as always, I'm here with my co-host Derek Welly, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man?
Not much. We're here to make the folks some money and keep that bankroll growing.
Absolutely. We've been doing this for about a year now. It was about this week last year that we started doing this show together. Of course, I've been doing the articles that go along with this show um, back in the summer of last year, but for this being between me and you on this show has been about 1 year. So it's nice to go live on the special occasion for the
Y-
first time. So,
I
like
definitely
I said,
think so.
absolutely. Like he was saying, what we do here, all we do is try to make you guys money. Um, we give you our opinions and our insight on sports gambling, and and every week, we try to make you guys money. Try to make ourselves money, obviously, because we put our money with where our mouth is. We're not just making picks for just fun. I actually put my money on the picks that I make, and I'm sure Derek does the same. So, um, yeah, so we'll get into this the show this week. First, gonna start by recapping what happened last week, and we'll start with the favorites. Well, before we do that, I'm gonna say what's up to Danny. Um, obviously, he has a show for us. He's been doing that for this whole time on Mid NFL. So I'm glad he's here to see. Oh yeah, like I said, happy anniversary for our 1 year anniversary. Okay, but like I said, we'll get into the favorites for the week, and the favorites went straight up 8-5 overall, 129 and 77 and two. But against the spread, the underdogs dominated. As favorites went 5-8 overall. The underdogs have been dominating 88, 113 and 7. And the home teams um, uh, struggle a little bit straight up, which usually doesn't happen. 7-6 overall. They've been 111, 86 and 2. But against the spread, the away teams got the edge, 6-7. And that's what we've been seeing throughout the year, 89, 117 and 2. And finally, we have the over-unders. Overs hit a little bit more, 7-6, 90, 116 and 2 overall. But yeah, like I said, got the away teams and the underdogs this week. So what do you think about uh, what do you think about that?
Um, I'm not sure if you can hear me. I think I'm having a little
Yeah, I can hear
technical
you.
issue. You can hear me
Uh,
good?
I can hear you.
Um, I'm not a little surprised that, you might be seeing some of these underdogs come in this towards the later end of the season as we see some of these division races starting to tighten up. You see some of these teams lower in the standings. Um, maybe not with a legitimate shot at the playoffs, but looking to try and keep their playoff hopes alive. Still not technically being eliminated. We've seen crazy things happen in the past where all it takes, is a hope and a prayer, and as long as you still have a chance, it's you still see teams fighting. You still see coaching staffs putting forth their best players, best opportunities. You're not looking to maybe see what you have on your roster as far as younger talent or things like that. So, it's not too shocking to see some of these underdogs start to come in towards the later end of the season and as we creep into that area where we see teams resting players for the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. And I just like to see it go either like I don't care which way it goes. I just like seeing it go in a certain direction. Helps me out because I do like, as I always say, like going towards a trend, and there's trend. Um, I like to stick to that. So I say what's up to Adelia. How you doing? Next we got the upset of the week, and that came in. We have to go all the way back to Thursday night football. Um, and that was the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are getting 6 points, plus 235 on the money line. Final was 16-17. Um, like I said, Rams 6.5 point underdogs at home, which was fair considering that they didn't know who their quarterback was going to be. Also coming into the game, uh, uh, Raiders had won 3 straight games. But after being claimed off waivers on Tuesday, just 2 days later, Baker Mayfield came into the game after one drive where the Rams went like 3-and-out. Didn't start well from him. Rams were down 16-3, but in the fourth quarter, that's where Baker shined. He turned it around, leading 2 touchdown drives. One was 17 plays, 75 yards, and then the game-winning drive, starting at their own 2-yard line, with a minute 45 left. They went 98 yards in 8 plays, took the lead, and then Raiders were really never able to put them away, largely due to Carr just having an awful game. And then he went 11 for 20, 137 yards and 2 picks. They mostly ran it with Jacobs, which was leading to just field goals, and which kept the Rams in the game. And that's what led to the upset of the week.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, towards the end of this game, there were a few situations that the Raiders had that could have potentially iced this game. I believe there was a third down later towards the end of the quarter, kind of what you were talking about with Derek Carr under delivering. Um, but overall, this is what we have come to expect out of this Raiders team over the course of this season. Um, it hadn't been so much a lack of talent. I mean, there are some talented players, of course, Devontae Adams, um, Derek Carr. He has had better seasons. This has seemed to be a down season for what he's done over the past few years. Um, Josh Jacobs has actually seemed to overperform in some people's eyes, and so you know yes, Baker Mayfield was able to go out and put together a game winning drive. That always looks good. It's always nice when you can put that W in the win column. But overall, if you look outside of those final 2 minutes, you see a pretty dismal offensive performance overall by the Los Angeles Rams, not just Baker Mayfield. But in the end, they were able to get that W, and really, that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen this multiple times from the Raiders. They've been giving up big leads, um, throughout the season. So they're no stranger to that, and that just happened again in that Thursday night game. So yeah, it sucks for them. But next, we have the largest cover against the spread. That came in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at San Francisco 49ers. 49ers were 3.5 point favorites, and final score was 7-35. Um, Rookie Brock Purdy was making his first start against an old ass Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. He had played the previous week, and he played pretty well. They were at home, which is pretty much why they were favored. He played he played well in this game as well. Got 3 touchdowns, but they ran the ball majority of the time. Let McCaffrey kind of take over the game. The 49ers defense was able to frustrate Brady all day. He had to throw like 55 times, and he was forcing 2 picks. And then basically, after their first drive, they missed a field goal, and the Bucks had 3 straight 3-and-outs, and then 3 straight turnovers, and that all that mess just resulted in the 49ers taking that 35-0 lead. And I think the Niners showed that even without Jimmy Garoppolo, they can still be a pretty good bet going forward. Um, but what did you think about this game?
Um, I definitely think that the Buccaneers seem to be playing like a team that's a shell of itself from a few seasons ago. Um, there's a number of different reasons, different players being affected, a couple personnel changes, but as far as this season, this is not the Tom Brady Buccaneers team that people have known over the past few years. And I think on some levels, it's not necessarily shocking, but it's definitely not what people are used to. And it definitely doesn't look good on the field when you go up against a pretty prime defense in the 49ers. And they put it to them all game long, didn't let up. And the offense for the 49ers is the type of offense where if they get ahead, not only can they keep a lead with the way they're able to run the ball. Kyle Shanahan is one of the top run schemers in the league. Um, I know some people, maybe to some degree, McDaniels in Miami, whether he learned from Shanahan or, more help Shanahan, it's clear that that system still works and operates without said coaching staff. So I do believe that the 49ers will be able to lean on their run game more as they move forward with Brock Purdy as the quarterback. Overall, he did what you need out of a game manager, and that's what a backup quarterback is in these situations. Go in, don't lose the game. Make the plays when you have to. You know, if you end up throwing a pick because you were put in a bad situation and had to throw the ball, okay. But in the end, overall, if you're not making bad plays over and over again, you don't have to go out there and win the game. Just don't lose the game, and that's what he did this past Sunday. And if they can continue to do that, this team will be dangerous in the playoffs.
And definitely, it's also with this loss also gives your Carolina Panthers better odds at winning that division. You taking that bet?
No, man, I'm sticking with my guns. I said under 5.5 to begin the season. So guess what? We losing out the rest of the way. We ain't getting another win. It's that simple. And I know with some of
Uh,
these games, like my feelings towards the Panthers, the short version is, at the beginning of the season, if you were to look at the schedule and some of these matchups, you would not be favoring the Panthers. The Panthers have not changed much over the season. They're not facing many injuries. If anything, they're a bit of a lesser team than people expected at the start of the season. And the reason people have hope that the Panthers can make the playoffs is because the teams they're going up against and will be facing are underperforming in the eyes of how people expected them towards preseason, beginning of the season. The Bucks aren't playing at the level people expected. The Saints aren't playing at the level expected. I think people feel Pittsburgh is underperforming. Um, at the beginning of the year, I felt the Detroit game would be a toss-up game. Um, I still feel that way. Detroit seems to be peaking a little bit with the way they're playing, so
yeah,
I
they're playing
definitely
really
feel
well.
that is a game that could go down as a loss. But yeah, uh, you know, under 5.5. So talk about sweating for the next month.
Yeah, and that was part of our series of over and unders that we did during the summer. So if you wanted to go check out any of those bets, you can go back watch those episodes that are on uploaded on the channel right now. Um, but next we got the bad beat of the week, and that came in the Kansas City Chiefs minus 9.5 at Denver Broncos. Final score was 34-28. And we've seen multiple examples of divisional matchups throughout the season where big point spreads do not go in the way of the favorite. Um, but if you still took the Chiefs minus the points, then I think you felt pretty good about cashing in. I mean, they were up 27-0 in the first half. Then all of a sudden, Mahomes just gets reckless with the ball, throws two interceptions on back-to-back drives, in which the Broncos scored a touchdown off of those turnovers. And then the Chiefs still up 34-21, covering the spread, going into the fourth quarter. They let Russell Wilson, who's been pretty awful all year, get the most points he's scored all season and make the final of 34-28 to make what looked to be an easy win for the Chiefs and the betters who placed their hard-earned money on them into the bad beat of the week. But what do you think of this game?
It really falls into that category of, what we say about, as you mentioned, some of these large spreads you see in some of these games and how difficult it can be for any team in the NFL going up against any other team. Um, just proves that, any given Sunday, because as you said, Chiefs shootout to a massive lead. I was following this game. I had it in a three-leg teaser. So the fact that I had the Chiefs at -3, I believe it was,
Mm,
not the -9 or -9.5 some people were looking at. I wasn't too bothered by the comeback, but it was definitely rather shocking to see the Denver Broncos put up that many points in the
yeah,
first half.
that
I don't
that
even
was
need to
definitely
look. That's the most points they've put up in the first half all season long. It's that simple. Don't even have to look. That's how bad their offense has been. If they've covered that number in any other game, I would be highly shocked.
what's up, Rodney? Thought you went to sleep, but I'm glad you're here.
I'll tell you,
Um,
for somebody that claims to be going to sleep a lot, he sure is very active.
yeah, it sure is, but that's okay with me as long as he's here with us, enjoying the show. But finally, we'll get to our picks from last week, and I gotta say, did pretty terrible. Did pretty terrible. I'm pretty embarrassed about it. Um, went 1-4, but still got a winning record overall 34, 33, and 3. Um, I'm just hanging on by a thread with that winning record there, but I'll make it up this week. But my best pick, which was my only win, was the New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills, and the final score was 12-20, and barely got the win on this one, considering they only covered by a point and a half. Like I said, I relied on the big point spread and the divisional matchups going the underdog's way. And both defenses got after it. With the Jets holding the Bills to only 232 of total offense, and the Bills bringing the heat on Mike White, just pummeling the crap out of him, even knocking him out of the game at one point. Bills had 4 sacks on the day. And then the difference in this game was Jets fumbling twice. Turnover is going to hurt you. And even though the Jets had more yards, 9 minutes more time possession, the turnovers just killed them. But they still were able to cover the spread, and that's all I needed to get the win here. Um, but how did you do?
Well, I'm sitting right there with you. Awful week.
Awful.
Sometimes you just got to take it to the face because that's the way the cards fall. Unfortunately, we're not fortune tellers. If we were, we'd have a lot more money. That being said, you know, it's nice to get the wins you can when you do. Um, Unfortunately, not every game's going to play out the way you think it will or the way you hope it will. Of course, there's bad beats every week. Everybody gets bad beats. Uh, but my lone win on the week came in the Philadelphia game, which I believe they were -6.5 when this number closed. Um, don't remember the final score off the top of
Um,
my. Where is it?
uh,
I was trying to
did
pull
they
up
go
the
against?
score real fast. Oh yeah,
Uh,
48-22.
oh
So
yeah,
not. I don't think this game was ever in doubt. Um, that's that's the type of score where it seems. Yeah, I mentioned not letting up, staying on the pedal earlier, and not to say that Philly was running up the score in this game, but it seemed like they might have had a little bit of a point to prove. Um, looking at things, they put up 14 points in the fourth quarter, and clearly this game was not a game in the fourth quarter. So,
yeah.
you know, past couple of weeks, Philly has been a team I've been big on that I think will go deep into the playoffs, represent the NFC East or the NFC in the Super Bowl. Um, so a game like this makes me happy because you know, sort of leads or leans towards that idea that this may be the NFC championships when everything is said and done.
Maybe. But I'll finish up with my worst pick of the week. Came in the Jaguars at the Titans. Titans were -3.5. You know what, man? Feel like a junkie. Feel like a junkie who's been hitting rock bottom. Bad habit. Betting the Titans. Last 3 weeks I bet them. Each week they've lost all those bets. Feel like I need to go rehab. Just try to kick this betting the Titans habit. But I was confident that the Jaguars having such a terrible record on the road. Uh, that definitely that backfired on me. Where last week it worked out for me because they lost that week, but it's extremely hard to overcome 4 turnovers for any team. Henry, who had a pretty good game, rushing 121 yards, but had 2 fumbles. The Jaguars got a lot of pressure on Tannehill, forced him to make 2 turnovers himself. But Trevor Lawrence had another good game. He's been playing pretty well in recent weeks. This game he was 30 of 42, 368 yards, 3 touchdowns. Somehow even Evan Ingram had a great game. 11 receptions, 162 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But just like against the Eagles, the Titans stopped the run, stopped ETN. He only had 32 yards and 17 carries, but it didn't matter because their pass defense was extremely bad. Um, and at some point, I'm going to kick this habit and stop betting the Titans.
Yes,
Like
like
this.
my man in the chat from Lunch Break Hot Takes, Brodney is saying, quit the Titans, Caleb.
Yes, yes. I will finally stop taking the Titans. They were a good
And
bet
folks,
in the beginning. They were a
and
good
folks,
bet
that also
previous in the
means if
season.
you ever hear, at least until otherwise posted, if you hear this man talking about the Tennessee Titans, you jump on the other side.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta stop doing that. We'll stop doing that. Um, but before we get into our picks for week number will be 14, 15, something like that. Before we get picks of the week, uh, we're week 15. Uh, we try to help you guys out. If you guys can help us out by hitting that like button, sharing this video with your friends and whoever else likes sports gambling, whoever just likes making money. They don't have like football. They just like making money. Share it with them. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you really like to help us out, you can join our Patreon. Link will be in the description down below. Um, so yeah, do all that. Um, but now we will get to our picks of the week. Now I'm gonna start off with hold on. Where's it? Okay. I will start off with the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are laying the points -4. And despite coming off a divisional loss to the Lions, I like the Vikings here at home. Whatever little spark the Colts had from Jeff Saturday's first win against the Raiders, I think that's fizzled out by now, having a bye week last week. The last time we saw the Colts, they gave up 33 points in the fourth quarter to my Cowboys. The Vikings have scored 20 plus points um, for most of their games. I think every game except for like 2. And so I think they'll be able to score enough points to cover the spread. Kirk Cousins playing in early window, that's definitely going to help. Colts just 2-5 in the last 7 games against the spread. Vikings are 7-0 against AFC opponents against the spread. And even though the Vikings have played a lot of one-score games this season, I think they can roll in this one.
I'm riding right there with you in this game because this is also one of my picks because I thought the exact same thing. We saw a little bit of a spark, a little fire out of the Colts. Not uncommon when you have a coaching change, regardless of who's brought in, what the change is. Um, that's why in some instances you hear about organizations, teams doing such a thing. That being said, I'm gonna be on the other side. We have Kirk Cousins in a non-prime time game, though it will be an interesting quandary to see if that applies to a rare Saturday NFL football,
Yeah,
though we
maybe.
still have that 1 o'clock slot. So, we got a couple different things in the sports universe possibly balancing out here.
Yeah, is it
But I
just that he doesn't like single games, or does he just not like the time? We'll find out.
exactly. But if they're gonna put the number at -4, I'm definitely gonna have to ride with the Vikings. Their offense has been way too strong. It's that simple. I don't think the Colts have any answer to contain Justin Jefferson. Um, they might, and I say might. I think there were higher hopes for this defense coming into this season, but if they're able to contain Dalvin Cook, I don't think they'll be able to contain Jefferson. Either way, regardless, this offense is too high powered for them to stop or slow down. And I definitely think they win this game, probably by a touchdown or more.
All right. So that's your first pick. I get my second one. And I will be taking Miami Dolphins plus 7.5 at Buffalo Bills. And I feel like I'm on repeat. I've been saying it throughout the episode. I've been saying it throughout the season. Divisional matchups with big point spreads, especially between two winning teams, will favor the underdog. It has happened. Seen multiple examples of it already. Uh, Dolphins got the win in the last matchup, mostly because they were able to hold the Bills out of the end zone in the second half at least. And I think the Bills will probably win this game because they're at home this time. They're the better team, they're playing better. But the Dolphins, I think, will have a better performance than they've been having. Uh, but still won't be enough. But I still think they will keep it close. And I believe this will be a close game. The Dolphins will cover the spread, but the Bills just 2-5 against the spread in the last 7 games. So I'll take all the points I can get with the Miami Dolphins.
I can't necessarily disagree with you on that one, though for different reasons. I'm not on this game, but it was one that I looked at. I do think it will be interesting because of the weather that we will be seeing in Buffalo. And
Yeah.
this isn't just, oh, a team from the South. Yes, Miami. You don't get much more South than Miami. This ain't just cold Buffalo. This ain't just going and dealing with the temperatures. We're talking about snow. And though this may not be a blizzard, you're talking about winds, snow, cold. It's going to be an ugly game. Now,
So
yes, we
you like
will
the under
see.
too.
Yeah, the under could be a very live play in this game. There's also a strong possibility. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but Tyreek Hill won't be playing in this game. So these factors, if you're going to take a side in this game, it's definitely safer to look at the plus money, especially being able to get a touchdown. Because I do think this game could come down to that 3-4 point range. You know, however the field goals work out, a touchdown here or there. So getting that +7, that's definitely a nice number to have in what could be a very ugly football game.
All right,
Now,
we'll get to you.
moving
Second pick.
into my next pick, I'm going to be on the Thursday night game as we got the 49ers taking on the Seahawks, -3.5. I played this number last night. I see the numbers moved to -3. Was kind of waiting. I thought about waiting to see if it'd go to that -3. I was able to get the 3.5 at even money. So not necessarily a aggravation, but that half point can swing things sometimes. So if you're able to get it in your favor, it always is a plus. Now, in this game, we see a very poor rushing defense in Seattle. The Carolina Panthers put up nearly 200 rushing yards. Everybody for the Panthers was running. I mean,
Yeah.
literally all three of their running backs had a successful day in the run game, regardless of how many times they touched the ball. Sam Darnold had a couple rushes for 30 yards, I believe. Everybody was running. Former Panther, CMC, is going to be running. I expect a lot of this. We're not going to have Debo Samuel in this game, which leads me to believe that they're going to rely on the run even more than they would if he were present in this game. That said, I think given that we are likely to see Brock Purdy again, the way things are going to play out, Seattle, I don't see being able to keep up with their offense and the defense of the 49ers. The Carolina Panthers defense was able to, for the most part, shut down Seattle in the first half of that game. I think we see a more full performance out of the 49ers, a more complete dominance, and see possibly a game more similar to what we saw last week as the 49ers took on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, it being a low spread like this, I'll happily ride with 3.5 or 3. But yeah, give me the 49ers.
Yeah, I like the 49ers here as well. Didn't pick them only because just the Thursday night game on the road scares me a little bit, so I'm just gonna stay away from that. But like I said, Brock Purdy has shown that he can keep this 49ers team as a good bet to place some money on. So I'd be with you on that one. As say, what's up, Mr. J? I would say. I believe in the Panthers online, Sam and our three running backs need to get home more on defense. What you got to say about that with your Panthers?
I definitely like what I've seen out of the undrafted free agent, Black Shear. Um, Something I've noticed when they started to utilize him in the return game. He may not be the fastest guy on the field, but he understands finding the hole, seeing the field. He puts his foot in the ground and goes. He's not dancing. He's not wasting time trying to create space. He puts his foot in the ground, and in a lot of instances, he was hitting those holes. And so I wasn't shocked to see him to get more time in the rush game, just in the natural rotation. I think for a little bit, we actually saw him utilized over the third down back, second string Chuba Hubbard. Um, as I said in this past game, it didn't matter who was touching the ball. Chuba Hubbard, Deontay Foreman, Blackshear, um, Foreman and Hubbard tied for rushing lead for the team, both at 74 yards. Uh, you know, so I do like what I've seen out of Foreman this year. Even going back to last year in a number of games, if he gets the ball 15 times or more, there's a good chance that he's going for 100 yards. Um, you know, Chuba Hubbard hasn't really come through much. He's had issues with drops and fumbles, and when you can't hold on to the ball, you make yourself a liability. Um, I do think that this past week was a game that showed, as far as the rushing attack, he's potentially something that can be utilized. But I think the Panthers would like to see him more develop in the passing game, a bit of a quicker, shiftier back than Foreman, and that just hadn't worked out. The O line coming into this season, things were a little sketchy. Um, I do think since they were able to get Bozeman in at center and no longer you be using Pat Eflin at center has made a difference. Yes, there's been games where the O line has underperformed. Maybe you don't talk about the O line much, and that's the type of position. That's what you want. If you're not out
Mhm.
there making mistakes, they're not talking about you. So you may not be going out there and crushing every D line that you're facing, but if the worst thing that people are saying, is, oh man, that one time or, that one play, For the most part, they might be, finding a bit of a groove, and that's the type of unit where it does take time and it to mesh together, learn traits of your teammates and the people you're playing next to, certain characteristics, how they behave, how they react to certain changes in the pass protection or the rushing scheme. So I do think there is some upside for the offensive line. I definitely have liked what we've seen out of the rookie left tackle, and there is some possibility that he can live up to the hype in the coming seasons.
Hold on. No, it won't make you millionaire. Just trying to put a little bit of cash in your pocket, which is much needed around this time for the holidays. But a millionaire,
If
I
you
don't know about that.
make $1 million off what we're telling you, we expect a cut. That's all
Yeah,
I'm saying. It ain't
I
got to
would
be a
like
lot.
some,
It ain't got to be a
a little
lot.
bit.
Yeah, just a little something.
Yeah, that'd be much appreciated. But we'll get to you. What's your second pick?
Well, no, the 49ers was my second pick.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I get my third pick.
All right.
Yeah. So I got my Dallas Cowboys -4.5 at Jacksonville Jaguars. I think good teams bounce back from bad performances. I do believe my Cowboys are a good team, and I think they will do just that. The Cowboys put up a lot of points since that came back from injury. They scored 24 plus points in every single game since he's been there. I think he will get the turnovers fixed and have a really good game against the Jaguars. Jags have the 30th ranked pass defense. The Jaguars are very up and down. So, even though they got a big win against the Titans, I don't think they really carry momentum, just like they didn't carry the momentum from the Ravens upset. And because the next week they got blown out by the Lions. Um, Jags just 6-14 against the spread in the last 20 games, 0-10 against the spread against NFC teams, and 0-6 against the spread against NFC East teams. Um, Cowboys 8-5 against spread this season, which is near the top in the league. So I like my Cowboys play well this game. Bounce back from a bad performance that we had last week, and we will cover that -4.5 point spread.
Yeah, I think last week, the Cowboys just fell asleep a little bit on
Yeah,
Houston. I mean, you talk about taking something down to the wire. Like, I'd like to say I feel bad for Houston, but I don't see Houston coming out of that game with their heads down. Like, you know, I don't think any of those players are like, "Oh yeah, we just barely lost." But at the same time, it was like they wasn't whooping us. They weren't the big bad Cowboys. But
yeah,
the Cowboys were able to pull it out. It would be interesting to know who it was that went the wrong direction on that fourth
yeah. That was
down
me.
play. I do think it was the quarterback.
Oh, I picked them -16, so that was really bad pick for me. But we won the game. We won
Exactly.
the game.
Back to what I said earlier, winning can cover up a lot of things. You get that W. And and coming into this week, I'm going to be riding with you Cowboys as well, -4 points. As you said, the Jaguars have been a very inconsistent team this season. Some of that I think has been due to injury. Some of that is in a lot of ways this team is basically a rookie team to their head coach, new system, even though we do have a number of players from the previous season. Um, but yeah, -4. The Cowboys putting up as many points as they do with the defense that they have, the inconsistencies that we've seen out of the Jaguars as a whole, defensively and offensively, but also Trevor Lawrence, who for a large portion of the first half of the season was underperforming by, what most people expected. Um, I think he's definitely played a little bit better in the second half of the season, but I don't see this team being able to get within that, 4 point spread. I think the Houston game maybe skewed people's opinions a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
I think this line might have been
expecting
higher if we didn't have such a bad performance, honestly.
that's what I'm getting at. If this number was, 7, 8 points, I might not touch it. But -4 with less than a touchdown, it being a flat number and being able to get that push, if it does fall right at 4, I'll definitely be riding with the Cowboys in this game.
All right, your next pick.
Oh no, yeah, well that's what I was saying. I
Oh,
got the
oh, this was your
Cowboys
next
this
pick.
week as
Okay,
well. So
okay,
that's
okay.
two separate games that we're gonna be,
Oh,
sitting on the
nice.
same side, sweating it out.
All right then. Next, I got the New York Giants plus 4.5 at Washington Commanders. Now, I know last time in this matchup you had the Giants out of the Commanders, and I was on the losing side. So I'd like to be on the right side this time. Um, I was on the Heineke train for as long as I could be. He finally let me down. Finally didn't cover that spread, even though it was just a tie. And I think that they tied because these teams are extremely similar. Both have quarterbacks that are very inconsistent and you know have certain limitations to the game. And in a matchup this close, I have to take the points, especially when these two teams are fighting for a playoff spot. It basically this is a playoff spot on the line in this game. And last week's trends favoring the underdogs, favoring road teams. Well, that we got that both in the Giants. They are the underdog in the road team. Um, so I think that can carry over to this week. Giants 9-4 against the spread this season, is 7-3 in the last 10 games. Ultimately, I kind of think they just tie again, which would would give me the win
The
with the points. So,
ultimate Cowboys fan answer. Give me the points and they play to a tie.
yeah, so that's why I think it's gonna happen. But what do you think about this game?
I mean, honestly, I don't know what the books are doing with this number. You're going to give me more points now than the first meeting, and the first meeting ended it in a tie,
Yeah,
literally a tie, and you're going to give me more points? Like, we got to be missing something. Like, something's going on, like, one personality I do pay attention to, something he even likes to say, nobody knows shit. The book doesn't know shit. The public doesn't know shit. Nobody knows shit. Well,
yeah.
this is one of them ones where it's got me thinking somebody at the book don't know shit because giving me more points. Um, I'm not on this game, but yes, I would definitely have to take the points. I mean, there's nothing about this matchup. As you said, I was on the Giants before in the first matchup and ended up in the tie, and that +2.5 won it. I definitely wouldn't be going with the Commanders, especially with a larger spread when they finished in a tie. A tie. And you're giving more points. So, yeah, I have no clue what's going on with that game, but I would definitely back taking the points in that matchup. Now, my final play this week, I'm gonna be taking the New England Patriots -1, damn near pick them as they take on the Las Vegas Raiders. We were talking about the Raiders earlier. They're a mess. They don't have anything figured out. It's I wish I could come up with an answer for the Raiders. I mean, is it coaching? Is it players? Is it a combination? Because not many people had high hopes for McDaniels coming in. A lot of it having to do with his past, which I think a lot of it is warranted. I didn't expect him to succeed. I don't want to say that I was wishing for his failure, but like as somebody that bets, we often make predictions of what the outcome will be. And looking at this situation, McDaniel's coming in, nothing about that said to me this is going to work. Taking on your former boss, basically your mentor, Bill Belichick ain't the kind of guy to not try and rub it in. So if he's got any advantage, anything he can pull out to guarantee this win, I think that's what we're going to see. I think, you know, yes, in the matchup Monday night, Kyler Murray went down for the Arizona Cardinals, which
Yeah.
That affects their defense. That doesn't say anything about the offense going out there and putting up the points they did. And if they go out against the Raiders and put up 27, 30 points in their game, there's a good chance that they win that game by a few points. So -1, give me the Patriots all day long with that.
Yeah, I was a bit back and forth in this game. Really didn't know who to pick. Just Raiders played better at home. Um, they were getting the points, but I don't know. I don't trust them at all. Because like you see, like we talked about earlier, you just give up too many leads and just end up losing. So I just had to stay away from it altogether. But my last pick, I got the Cincinnati Bengals -3 at Tampa Bay. Bengals coming into this game, win 5 straight games where they've covered the spread in each one of those games. Bengals have been one of the best teams in the league covering the spread with a 10-3 record. The Buccaneers coming off a pretty bad beatdown by the 49ers. Uh, you know, have their lead in the NFC South kind of slipping away a little bit. Joe Burrow has been pretty much on fire. Tom Brady kind of been the opposite of that. Uh, the Bengals covered in each one of their NFC South matchups um, earlier in the season, and the Buccaneers are pretty goddamn terrible against the spread. 1-9-1 in the last 11 games, and finally they are 0-5 as a spread against AFC opponents. So I like the Bengals laying the points on the road in this one.
I definitely think a lot of these young and up and coming quarterbacks in the NFL right now are getting a true kick out of being able to get a win over the GOAT, aka Tom Brady. Because
Yeah,
when they tell this story to their grandchildren, it ain't gonna be, oh, I played washed up Tom Brady with no talent or really around him. No, it's gonna be, come down and listen to how your pawpaw took down the GOAT.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so as far as my last pick, we was talking about it earlier, large spreads in the NFL, and they often don't work out. In this instance, I'm gonna be going a bit contrarian to that, but this also has to do with who they're facing. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Houston Texans. Now, we saw the Texans get fired up for the Dallas game, that in-state rivalry. It may well it may over the years it probably hasn't been much of a rivalry, but that is still the type of game that players show out for. Players want to win. you know you don't want to hear that talk for another season, 2 seasons, however long, until y'all play each other again. So I do think there will be a bit of a drop off in the Houston Texans this week as they take on the
Yeah,
Chiefs. And as we saw last week, the Chiefs put up, what was it, 27 points in the first half.
yeah.
There's a potential that they could put up 27 points in the first half against the Texans, 0 points in the second half, and still cover the spread. Like,
So you're taking the number, taking the big spread.
yep, I'm taking that big spread with the Chiefs. I'm gonna be sweating all game long from kickoff, because from kickoff I'm already gonna be down
I don't
two
know.
scores.
I don't know that dual quarterback system's dangerous.
Oh yes, yes. It's so dangerous that it's never caught on anywhere.
Yeah. Well, that'll wrap up our picks for this week. Hopefully that wins you guys some money. Hopefully wins us some money. Um, yeah, it's dumb. Um, but finally, we'll get to our question portion of the show. If anybody in the chat wants to ask us a question, we'll go ahead and answer for you. And if you're watching this later, you can just leave it in the comments, and we'll answer it on the next show of Betting NFL. Um, but I got some for you. The reverse movement on the line. I see that happen a lot in Vegas on the boards. Reverse movement is when the sharp bettors go against the public. Public has majority money on one side, like a favorite. Saying a favorite has -7.5. Public is on that betting them. but the sharp betters are on the underdog. The movement moving online, even though the public is a lot on there, they actually go against that, and the line will move down to 6.5, no 6.5 or 6, like a point and a half down to actually go with the sharp betters, because the sharp betters are putting down more money than even the public is. So that actually moves. That's what it's called, a reverse movement of the line. Because and usually what would happen is if the more money is on one side, like if the more money was on the favorite, then it would actually go the opposite, and it would be they would be a bigger favorite. But in a reverse movement, um, it actually goes the opposite way, and it'll actually go down. But have you seen? Do you see that online? I know because you do online betting. I see that a lot going on the boards, but I don't know if that's the same thing
Oh
when you're going
yeah,
online.
this is something that occurs within every sports book to a certain degree. Um, the general thinking would be, you know, for every bet made, it's a certain dollar amount. Well, people bet different dollar amounts. Um, some books may have different limits as to far as how much you may be able to bet on a certain type of bet or a specific bet. Those limits may change as you get closer to the game tipping off. It's not uncommon. I've even heard in Vegas, a lot of sports books they may have a $5,000 limit,
Yeah,
and that's extremely low in a lot of gambling
yeah, that's
circles
way
as
low.
far as the pro, the sharp money, the bagmen. These are guys that are coming in and dropping 5, 10 dimes, putting down 50, $100,000 on one play. Um, so yeah, it's it boils down to the money. You can have 10 bets from on one side and one bet on the other. Which has more money? If that one bet is for 100,000, it don't matter if you bet in 500 every bet on the other side. It's still more money in that single bet. So
Yeah,
it's definitely something I think, some people put a lot of weight into it. It's something that is worth keeping note of because if, depending on when the game may take place, whether it be further off, say, it's a Wednesday, Thursday, and we're talking about a Sunday game, you might see a little bit of reverse movement. More, I would be more, I would expect it would more occur as you get closer to the games with the NFL. As I mentioned, those limits going up. You get to Friday and the weekend, and you're talking about 100,000 limit per bet, not 5,000. So I think it's definitely something worth paying attention to. Something to keep in your checklist as far as things to keep an eye on. A lot of these trends are things we like to pay attention to, and to a certain degree, I think it can help people develop not necessarily a gut or intuition for things, but you do to a certain degree start to understand the line movement and maybe even almost anticipate it. And in many ways, that's what we're trying to do here. You know, if I get on a number and it moves the opposite way against me, it's not necessarily a good sign, but it doesn't mean my play was wrong. Now, you see a number move in your favor, lends you to believe that you're on the right side. That's just the general philosophy behind it. But there's been
yeah.
many times where I was on a play, the number moved against me, and I was like, I was expecting it to move against me. That's why I got it now because I didn't want it then.
Yeah, and the reason why this happens is because, like I said, the odds makers, casinos, uh, they want you an even 50-50 split on the. They want even money. Want half the money going on this side, half the money going on that side. So they move the line so the sharp betters won't bet that side heavily. They'll go on the other side if the line moves, and they'll start betting this side. So the money will even out, and you'll get action on both sides, and that's really the goal of why these lines move like that. And of course, we know that the sharp betters have the biggest pockets, even if the public is heavily on one side. But yes, hopefully that helps you guys out. Learn a little more about how lines move there. Hopefully that makes you a better, and that's what we like to see, better betters. Um, but that is our show for tonight. Thanks for everybody that came to watch tonight. Um, Rodney, Mr. J, Danny, Delia, and well now Ferris is here. Thank y'all for watching. Like I said, like, subscribe, do all good stuff, and we will see you next week live again. Oh, but before that, you can tell everybody where they can find you. DWeezy.
Yes, folks, y'all can find me here on YouTube at Backyard Action Media. I'm also starting to dabble with the TikTok, not social media ain't my thing, but it comes with the territory. So you know what? We're getting into it. Any way to reach the folks. Um, y'all can reach me at Backyard Action Media on TikTok. I also have on Twitter, the Yard Bets is the official Twitter for Backyard Action Media. So there are multiple platforms that you can find me at, putting out betting content and information, just like we're doing here for the folks.
All right. You can find me at NFLK22 on Instagram and Twitter. You can find my articles that go along with this show on our website, let'sgetreadynetwork.com. You can find me on this channel doing Good Friends Battle Rivals, talking Cowboys Giants with Ferris McDonough. Um, so we do that comes out every Monday. We will be going live soon. So look out for that. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, thanks for coming. Like I always say, and like Ferris just said, let's get ready to make that money. See ya.